Delivery girl found him shot and holding his twins. Unaware he was famous vampire king, the city lay under a blanket of fog, a quiet whisper of shadows slipping along cobbled streets. The lamplight flickered weakly, painting long, trembling silhouettes on the walls of the narrow alleys. A soft drizzle had begun, and each droplet glimmered like a small jewel as it fell. Somewhere far above, the clock tower struck midnight, its echo rolling through the silence like a distant warning. Leora carried her delivery satchel across the wet stones, the worn leather cold against her hand. She had always preferred the night shifts. There was a calm to the city when most were asleep, a solitude that let her think. But tonight, that calm seemed different. The fog clung more tightly, wrapping around her like a cloak of unease. Turning a corner near the abandoned warehouse district, she froze. There, in the gloom, a figure lay slumped against the wall. At first, she thought it was a drunk man, but then she saw the children. Two small forms huddled against the figure, crying softly. Leora's heart clenched. The man's coat was torn, soaked with dark patches that glimmered unnaturally in the lamplight. Bah! He moved slightly, groaning, and Leora noticed the faint shimmer of something in his eyes. Not quite human, not quite familiar. He was holding the twins close to his chest, protecting them, as if nothing else mattered. But please, help them, the man whispered, his voice hoarse, urgent, and terrifyingly soft, all at once. Without thinking, Leora crossed the street, kneeling beside them. "It's okay, I'm here." Bashan. "I'll help," she said, though her own fear tightened her chest. The man's eyes met hers, and for a moment the world seemed to pause. They were golden, like sunlight trapped behind glass, and something in them carried centuries of sorrow. He looked at her not as a stranger, but as a lifeline. They can't," he gasped, but the words caught in his throat. One of the twins whimpered, and he gently shushed them, pressing his face against their small heads. His hands shook, betraying a vulnerability he had never allowed the world to see. Leora hesitated, then carefully lifted the twins into her arms. They were warm, fragile, and utterly trusting, even with a stranger. "I've got them," she whispered. "You just stay still." Pain twisted his features, and he tried to rise, but his strength failed him. Leora noticed the dark stains spreading over his coat, the way his breathing was uneven and shallow. He was gravely injured. "Who are you?" she asked quietly, afraid to disturb him. He coughed, a dry, rasping sound. "I cannot," he struggled.
"I am. No one you should know."
"Bed." Leora frowned. There was something in the way he said it, in the curve of his shoulders and the set of his jaw, that hinted at power. She did not understand what it was, but she sensed that he carried a weight far greater than her own life.
"Then let me help you, no matter who you are," she said firmly.
You're not staying here like this. Not while I can carry them." He looked at her, hesitation flickering across his face. Then, slowly, he nodded. His gaze softened. There was trust there, raw and dangerous, because he had never given it to anyone. Together, they moved through the foggy streets. Best. Leora's arms ached, but she refused to let go of the twins. The man stumbled beside her, leaning heavily on the wall of the alley. She could hear his heartbeat, steady but strained, and felt a shiver run down her spine. "What happened to you?" she asked gently, breaking the silence. The man shook his head. "Enemies. Those who want them, and me." He coughed again, spitting blood onto the stones. The twins whimpered, and he clutched them tighter. They cannot find them. Not yet. Leora's heart raced. The danger in his voice was undeniable, but so was the sadness, the fear, and the love. She felt a strange connection, as if the two of them were now tied together by something invisible yet unbreakable. But finally, she reached a small, deserted inn at the edge of the district. She helped him inside, laying him gently on a bench in the dim lobby. The twins stirred in her arms, their tiny faces pressing against her chest. "You should rest," she said softly. "I'll stay with them." He shook his head weakly. "I cannot," he whispered. "I must protect them." Even now, there was something in the way he said it, a command mixed with pleading. Leora realized that this man, whoever he was, carried more than just injury. He carried responsibility, an unbreakable bond to the children and perhaps to the world itself. "Then let me help you protect them," she said. "You can't do it alone." For the first time, a shadow of a smile touched his lips, brief but genuine. "Perhaps you are right," he admitted, his voice weaker than before, but honest. Bed. Leora set the twins down in a small, makeshift crib near the fireplace. She fed them from a bottle she found in her satchel, all the while keeping one eye on the man. He lay back on the bench, exhaustion claiming him, but he did not sleep. His golden eyes followed her movements like a sentinel, wary yet accepting. "I don't even know your name," Leora said quietly, kneeling beside him. "Names are complicated," he murmured. Bed.
I am Kale. The name struck her like a bell. There was a weight to it, a dignity, and an echo of something older than the night itself.
Beth Kale, she repeated softly, testing it. "All right, Kale, we'll figure this out. You'll be safe here, for now." Kale's gaze softened further, but a shadow passed over it. "For now, yes, but the darkness, it follows. Base."
Leora frowned. "Then we'll face it together."
"I don't know what you are, or what you've done, but I will not leave you or them." There was a long silence, broken only by the soft cries of the twins. Kale's chest rose and fell with ragged breaths. He had never allowed anyone to speak to him like that, not with trust, not with care. Yet here she was, fearless, steady, and resolute. "Leora," he said, the name tasting strange yet comforting on his lips. "You should not be involved with me, with them." "I am already involved," she said simply. "I found you."
"I'm not leaving. We survived together." That is enough for now. For a brief moment, Kale allowed himself to believe it.
Ace. He let the warmth of her presence seep into his bones, a sensation so foreign it was almost painful. He had been alone for centuries, ruling in shadow and fear, believing no one could ever be trusted. Bess. Yet here she was, a human girl, holding his children, standing in defiance of every danger he had ever known. Outside, the fog thickened, pressing against the windows and doors. Somewhere in the city, enemies moved, silent and calculating, seeking to finish what had been started. Kale's fingers twitched, and a coldness touched his veins, a premonition of the battles to come. But for now, in this small, dimly lit room, there was a fragile peace. Leora hummed softly to the twins,
rocking them gently, while Kale watched from the bench. He could not sleep, could not rest entirely, but he allowed himself a single thought, a dangerous, tender thought that perhaps with her survival was possible. A distant howl of the wind echoed through the alleys.
The twins stirred, and Leora adjusted their blankets.
"You'll be safe," she whispered to Kale, though the words were as much a promise to herself.
Pay. Kale's eyes softened further, and he reached a trembling hand toward her.
Leora! Thank you!
For tonight, for everything. She shook her head with a small smile. Breath. Don't thank me yet. We have a long night ahead, and longer battles. But I won't leave. Bespricht. He allowed himself a brief, almost imperceptible nod. The fog pressed harder against the walls now, a reminder that the world outside was merciless and dark. But inside, in the warmth of the small inn, there was something worth protecting. A fragile family, a human girl with courage beyond measure, and a king who had forgotten how to hope. And in the shadows, a pair of eyes watched from the streets, but he felt them, the first warning of the danger that had not yet found them, but would not rest until it did. Leora hummed again, and Kale closed his eyes briefly, letting the sound cradle him in ways he had not felt in centuries. He had survived battles, betrayals, and curses, but perhaps tonight he realized the true challenge was learning to trust. The night stretched on, endless and quiet, but every heartbeat in that small room carried a promise. Of survival, of courage, and of a bond that might one day withstand even the shadows that sought to destroy them. Somewhere deep inside, Kale understood it. And somewhere deep inside, Leora knew it too. This night was only the beginning. The storm was coming, and nothing would ever be the same again. The morning mist had not yet lifted when Leora awoke to the soft cries of the twins. The small inn-room was quiet except for the fire's gentle crackle, and the pale sunlight filtering through the curtains gave the space a fragile warmth. She looked over at Kale, who sat on the bench, his golden eyes alert even in the early light. "You're awake," he said softly, his voice carrying a calm strength that both unsettled and comforted her. "Bess," she replied, adjusting the blankets around the children. "And, so are they. I think they're hungry again." Pyle's gaze softened at her tender movements. "They are strong, more than I expected." He paused, his eyes flicking toward the wall where shadows lingered. "And dangerous if the wrong hands find them." "Dangerous? They're just babies." "They are more than that," Kale said, his voice low, almost a whisper. "They carry a power older than this city, older than the blood that runs in my veins. That is why they must be protected, at any cost." She had always known the world could be cruel, but these words stirred something deep inside her. There was a truth in his voice, a weight that pressed down, like the night fog outside. Call rose slowly, the motion graceful yet heavy with restraint. "I cannot stay here. The city, the enemies, they will come." "Then we move," Leora said, determination sharpening her voice. "You need rest, but we cannot hide forever." "Bear, we have to find somewhere safe." Kale studied her for a long moment. There was courage in her eyes, but also an innocence he feared could be shattered. Yet he found himself nodding. "Very well," he said. "There is a place, a sanctuary beneath the city. Few know of it. Fewer enter willingly. You will see the world as it truly is."
Leora's heart skipped.
Beishi stumbled upon a wounded man and children, but now the shadows themselves seemed to shift with him. There was something vast and unknowable in his presence. They left the inn quietly, KL moving with effortless grace through the fog. Leora followed, holding the twins close. The streets seemed to bend around them, the mist thickening as if it wanted to conceal their path. Finally, they reached a hidden staircase descending beneath an old cathedral. The stone steps were worn, slick with age and moisture. Leora held the twins tighter as Kale led the way, his fingers brushing the walls as if sensing every secret in the stone. At the bottom, the staircase opened into a vast underground hall. Torchlight glimmered against high, vaulted ceilings, illuminating stone statues of creatures long forgotten.
It was cold, yet it carried a strange sense of sanctuary.
"This is your hall," Leora whispered, awe in her voice. "It is my refuge," Kale replied.
"And theirs," he added, gesturing toward the twins. "Here, no one can find us. Here, we are safe. For now."
Bad. Leora set the twins down on a soft blanket Kale produced, and they gazed around with wide, curious eyes.
Even in their infancy, there was a spark in them, a restless energy that seemed almost alive.
Kale watched them with a mixture of pride and fear.
They are too young to understand, yet their destiny is already written. What do you mean? Leora asked, concern lacing her words.
Kale hesitated, a shadow crossing his face. "There is a curse on my bloodline.
Those who inherit it carry power, yes, but also a burden. The twins!
They will either be the salvation of our kind or its undoing. That is why enemies pursue us, even now. Leora's stomach tightened. She had expected danger, but hearing the truth was another weight entirely. And yet, she could not let fear stop her. "Then we protect them," she said firmly. "But we fight if we must. I won't let anything happen to them."
Kyle's gaze softened again.
You are braver than most, he said quietly.
And yet, you are human. Mortals are fragile in this world. I know, but I will not run. I cannot. They need someone to stand with them, and that someone will be me. Kale's hand hovered near hers, but he did not reach out. The words between them were silent, loaded with meaning. He was centuries older, wiser, and stronger. And yet, in her courage, he saw something he had not seen in a very long time. Hope. The quiet was shattered by the sudden sound of movement above. Kale's eyes narrowed, and he moved swiftly to the staircase, motioning for Leora to stay with the twins. Shadows flickered along the walls, and for the first time Leora saw a glimpse of the world Kale had warned her about. Creatures not fully human, watching from the darkness.
"They are scouts,"
Kale muttered.
"Enemies who seek the children. They have been following us for nights, waiting for a moment like this."
Leora's heart raced. "What do we do?" "We hide no longer. We must act. And you must trust me completely." The word rang like a bell. Leora felt it in her bones. She had no choice but to trust him. He had brought them here.
kept them safe through the night, and now, in the face of danger, he would not falter. Kale led her through a series of twisting tunnels, each passage lined with intricate carvings that pulsed faintly with light. Bay. The twins cooed softly, unaware of the tension around them, and Leora felt a pang of protectiveness stronger than she had ever known. At last, they reached a chamber deep beneath the city, lit by a pale, glowing crystal at its center. The light was soft but steady, bathing the room in a serene glow. This was the heart of Kale's sanctuary, a place of refuge, of history, and of secrets too ancient to speak aloud. "You will be safe here," Kale said, his voice low. "For now." But even as he spoke, Leora sensed the unease in his movements. The way his eyes darted to the shadows, the way his hands tightened slightly. He was prepared for danger, always. Hours passed in tense quiet. Leora tended to the twins, feeding and comforting them, while Kyle moved through the sanctuary, checking doors, passages, and hidden locks. She could see the weight of responsibility etched into his every movement. He was a king, not just in title, but in command and vigilance. Yet now she also saw a man exhausted, haunted by his own power and past mistakes. Finally, he approached her, leaning against the wall with a hand on his face. "There are those within my court who would betray me for the twins," he said quietly. "Psst. Even among my own there are shadows. Then we stay vigilant. We stay together." Kale's golden eyes met hers, and for a fleeting moment, centuries of fear and solitude seemed to fall away.
You have courage, Leora.
Courage I have not seen in generations. That is why I trust you, and why this is so dangerous. The twins stirred again, and Kale smiled faintly. It was the first warmth she had seen in him, a glimpse of the man behind the legend, behind the power, behind the curse. Psst! Suddenly, a faint whisper echoed through the chamber. Leora stiffened, glancing toward the shadows. Psst! Psst! Did you hear that? Kyle's gaze sharpened. Yes.
They are here.
The sanctuary's doors trembled as if a storm pressed against them. Leora's breath caught in her throat, but Kale's presence steadied her.
Bah. He stepped forward, his hand brushing over a concealed wall panel. A secret passage opened silently, leading deeper into the heart of the city's underworld.
You must take the twins through here, Kale said, urgently in his voice. I will delay them, but you must go.
Bess. Leora hesitated. No.
I'm not leaving you. Kale cut her off gently but firmly. You must. If they capture you, the children are lost. Go now.
Trust me. Her heart ached, but she nodded. She picked up the twins, holding them close, and stepped into the passage. Behind her, she heard the soft, measured steps of Kale moving to meet the threat. Even in the darkness, she could feel him. Strong, bay, fierce, determined. And yet she could also feel the shadows closing in, the dangers that would not rest, the enemies who would stop at nothing to claim the children. She pressed forward, her mind racing with fear, hope, and something else, an unspoken connection to the man she barely knew but already trusted more than anyone she had ever met. And behind her, Kale faced the encroaching shadows, golden eyes glowing faintly in the dim light.
He was the king, the protector, and the father, and he would not let them take what he had sworn to guard.
But the night stretched on, deeper, darker, and more dangerous than before. But in the twisting tunnels beneath the city, a fragile bond was forming, one that would be tested by fire, betrayal, and the shadows of a throne long steeped in blood. Bay. For Leora, Kale, and the twins, the world was changing, and nothing would ever be the same. The tunnels beneath the city were dark, winding like the veins of some ancient creature. Leora moved cautiously, the twins cradled tightly against her chest. Every shadow seemed alive, every whisper of wind a warning. Behind her, Kale's presence lingered in her mind, strong and protective, even though she could no longer see him. Her heart pounded with fear and urgency. She did not fully understand the danger, only that it was real, and that it pursued them without pause. Bess. She pressed on, trusting Kale's instructions, the twins' warmth giving her courage. Ahead, the passage opened into a cavernous chamber. Ancient stones lined the walls, carved with symbols that pulsed faintly, glowing like embers in the darkness. The air was thick, heavy with magic. Leora instinctively lowered herself to the floor, whispering to the twins to keep them calm. A voice echoed softly, low and musical, yet carrying a chill. "You cannot hide forever, Kale." Leora stiffened, her eyes darted around, trying to locate the source. "Oh!" She could feel the power in the voice, a darkness that chilled her blood. It was not entirely human, not entirely mortal. Kale stepped from the shadows, his golden eyes shining, body tense, muscles coiled like a panther ready to strike. "Bess, leave them out of this," he commanded, voice steady but edged with steel. The voice laughed, soft and cruel. "They are the reason you cannot win, King. Those children, they are the key, and I will claim them." She had seen bravery before, but the way Kale's jaw tightened, the way his hands clenched into fists, spoke of centuries of battle, centuries of weight, centuries of pain, carried in silence. "You will not touch them," Kale said, stepping forward. The shadows seemed to lean toward him, recoiling from his presence. "I will protect them with my life." The air shimmered, and suddenly the twins stirred, crying in unison. "Belle." Leora shushed them, feeling a strange heat radiate from their tiny bodies. She noticed that the carved symbols on the walls pulsed brighter as if responding to the children's presence. "They are awakening," Kale murmured, almost to himself. "I feared this day would come too soon." Awakening? What do you mean?" Kale's eyes darkened. "The curse. The one that has followed my bloodline for centuries. It feeds on fear, on suffering, and it reacts to power. The twins, they carry the strongest magic I have ever known. If the wrong hands find them, the world itself could tremble." Leora's hands tightened around the children. "Then we must keep them safe. We cannot let them fall into darkness." Kale nodded, his gaze flicking toward the shadows that lingered at the edges of the chamber. "Yes, but darkness is not only outside. It is also within me. Within all who bear this blood." For a moment, Leora saw him not as a king, not as a warrior, not as someone with golden eyes and impossible strength, but as a man haunted, vulnerable, burdened by mistakes and guilt. "You're not alone," she whispered, stepping closer.
Despair.
You don't have to carry it all by yourself. By yourself, K.S. lips pressed into a thin line. "I have no choice," he said softly.
"That's curse. At a man's sacrifice. It has taken more than I can count. I swore I would protect them, and yet, every day, I wonder if I am enough." Her heart ached for him. "You are enough. I will help you, Faye. We will face this together." The twins stirred again,
and Kale's gaze softened.
For a brief, fleeting moment, he allowed himself to imagine a future where they were safe, where the darkness could not reach them. But even as he allowed that thought, a chill ran through the chamber. Breath. From the shadows, a figure emerged. A tall, cloaked being, their face hidden, their movements silent yet deliberate. She instinctively stepped in front of the twins, ready to defend them with everything she had. Kale moved beside her, calm, precise, and deadly. "I warned you," he said. "Leave now, or face me." The cloaked figure laughed, a sound like broken glass.
You cannot stop what is coming, King. The curse cannot be broken, only endured.
Pay. And even now, it seeks to claim those you love. Kale's eyes burned with an otherworldly fire. Then you will find that my love is stronger than your curse. Leave, or be destroyed. The figure tilted its head, as if amused. Base. We shall see. Suddenly the chamber shook, stones falling from the walls, and a dark mist swirled around them. Leora clutched the twins, their cries rising over the chaos. Baal. Kale stepped forward, his body a shield between the children and the shadow.
You cannot protect them forever, the figure said, voice echoing and twisting around the chamber.
I will protect them until my last breath, Kale said, his voice rising with authority. He moved with lightning speed, a blur of gold and shadow, and struck the figure. Bess. The attack sent a shockwave through the chamber, but the cloaked enemy was unyielding, retreating into the mist, disappearing like smoke. The shaking subsided. Leora lowered the twins, heart racing.
Who was that?
Kale did not answer immediately. He knelt beside the children, brushing a lock of hair from their faces. Bay. A messenger of the curse. It tests me, reminds me that nothing is safe. But it is not the end. Not yet. Leora looked at him, fear and admiration mixing in her chest. And if it comes again? Kale's golden eyes met hers, steady, unyielding. Then I will stand again. And I will not falter.
Hours passed in tense silence.
Kale moved through the chamber, checking every passage, every corner, ensuring that the twins could not be found. Leora watched him, realizing that his power was immense. But so was the weight he carried. He had been a king for centuries, feared by enemies and revered by allies. Yet now he was also a father, vulnerable and determined, willing to sacrifice everything for these small lives. Bed. At one point, Kyle paused, looking at the carvings on the walls. These symbols, he murmured, tracing the lines with his fingers. They are older than my family, older than the city itself. They speak of power, of protection, of sacrifice. Perhaps they will guide us. Leora stepped closer. Can they help us? Kale's eyes softened slightly. I hope so. But symbols alone cannot protect the children. Courage, loyalty, and love. These are stronger than magic, stronger than curses. Leora felt a surge of warmth at his words. She had faced danger before, but never like this. Never with lives so small and precious depending on her. And never with someone so strong, so haunted, standing beside her. As night fell again, the twins slept fitfully in the soft blankets. Leora kept vigil, feeling Kale's presence behind her, steady and protective. She sensed his tension, the endless burden he carried, and yet also the trust he placed in her. Suddenly, a whisper came from the shadows. A faint voice, almost a memory.
You cannot change the past, KL.
You cannot escape what you are. Kale stiffened, his eyes narrowing. I am not the same as I was, he said, voice low but unwavering. And I will not allow the past to claim what I love now. But the shadows seemed to ripple, and for a moment the air grew colder. Leora shivered, clutching the twins. Bet. She realized then that the world Kale inhabited was far larger, far darker than she had imagined. And yet, despite the danger, despite the curse, despite the unknown, she felt something she had never felt before. A fierce determination, a bond forming that could not be broken. Hours later, Kale approached her. His expression was serious, but there was a quiet warmth in his eyes. Leora, the curse will test us again. I cannot promise victory, but I can promise that I will not abandon the children, and I will not abandon you. Her hand found his, and I will not abandon you, she said simply. Breaths, we face this together, whatever comes. For a moment, the darkness of the chamber, the weight of the curse, and the shadowed threats outside seemed to fade. There was only this fragile connection, this unspoken trust between them, but the silence did not last. A faint noise echoed from the tunnels. A whisper, a shuffle, a warning. The curse had not retreated. It was watching, waiting, testing, and it would not rest until it had its answer. Kael's eyes glowed faintly in the dim light, a mix of power and warning. They are coming, he said. Best, and when they arrive, we must be ready. Leora tightened her grip on the twins, her resolve hardening. Then we will be ready. Together. And in the shadows of the underground sanctuary, the ancient curse stirred, awakening fully for the first time in centuries. The twins' power pulsed faintly in response, and the stage was set for a confrontation that would test love, courage, and the very fate of the king's bloodline. Nothing would be the same again. The night stretched on, long and tense, as Kale and Leora prepared for the inevitable. The curse was awake, Bess, and the shadows of the past were only beginning to reach for them. The cavern beneath the city trembled as though the earth itself were groaning. Shadows danced across the walls, cast by the flickering torches lining the chamber, and a strange wind swirled around the glowing crystal at its center. Kale stood before it, the twins held close to his chest, his golden eyes blazing with determination. Leora crouched beside him, her small hand brushing the infant's soft hair. The twins stirred, sensing the tension in the air, their cries muffled against her shoulder. She could feel the surge of power from them, faint but undeniable, and it both terrified and inspired her. Are you ready? Kale's voice was calm, but it carried the weight of centuries of battles and heartbreak. Leora looked at him, determination shining in her eyes.
I'm ready. We face this together.
But whatever comes, we stand together. Kale nodded, and for a brief moment, the shadows seemed to recoil. He could feel the enemy approaching, their presence heavy and cold, but he would not falter. Not now, Bed. Not with the twins in his arms and Leora at his side. From the darkness, the cloaked figure emerged once more. Its form twisted, not fully human, not fully shadow, its eyes glowing faintly red. You cannot escape your fate, Kale, it whispered. The curse will claim them, as it claimed everything before. Kale's jaw tightened.
I do not believe in surrender.
I do not bow to fear, not while these children breathe. The figure laughed, a hollow, echoing sound that seemed to fill the chamber. It raised a hand, and the shadows surged forward, tendrils of darkness that twisted like living smoke. Leora held the twins closer, feeling a cold press against her skin, the air thick with danger. Kale moved in front of them, his figure a shield of golden light and shadow. "Leora, stay behind me," he commanded, his voice firm but gentle. "Do not let them see your fear." "I'm not afraid," she said, though her heart raced. "Bird."
I trust you. We face this together. The cloaked figure advanced, the shadows writhing like serpents along the floor.
Kale's eyes flared, and he raised a hand. A golden light surged outward, pushing the darkness back. The chamber trembled, stones cracking under the force of power unleashed.
You think your light can defeat me? The figure hissed.
Pray. This is more than power. This is destiny. Kale's expression softened, but his voice was steady. No. Bay. Destiny is what we choose, and I choose to protect them. The twins stirred in Leora's arms, their tiny hands reaching out instinctively. A faint glow surrounded them, responding to Kale's power, strengthening the light that pushed back the darkness. The enemy recoiled, hissing, and the air vibrated with the energy of the clash. Leora watched, awestruck, as Kale moved with precision, combining his strength with the twins' awakening power. It was not brute force alone, but an unbreakable bond, a love so deep it radiated like fire. The shadows writhed, twisting and screaming, but could not penetrate the light of their unity. "You cannot win," the cloaked figure growled, stepping closer. "You are mortal. Bet you cannot defy what you are."
Kale's eyes glowed brighter.
"Perhaps I am mortal, but I am more than that. I am their father. I am their protector. And I will not fail them." With a final, decisive movement, Kale pushed the energy outward, a wave of golden light surging through the chamber. The shadows shrieked, twisting in pain, then shattered into fragments that scattered like dust. The cloaked figure dissolved, leaving only silence in its wake. Leora exhaled, relief flooding her chest. The twins slept peacefully again, their small bodies warm and safe. Kale lowered them into her arms, his expression softening as he watched them breathe. "It is over. For now," he said quietly, his voice almost weary, but filled with triumph. "The curse has been delayed, but it is not gone. Darkness always returns." Leora looked at him, admiration and love shining in her eyes. "We faced it together, Kale. We survived. That is what matters." Kale's gaze softened, and he reached out to brush a strand of hair from her face. "You have shown me something I thought I had lost forever. Hope. Trust. Love. Perhaps these are stronger than any curse." "Perhaps these are stronger than any curse."
Then we have a chance to change the future, not just for us, but for them.
She gestured to the twins who stirred in her arms.
They are the reason we fight, and the reason we survive.
Kale nodded, kneeling beside her. "I swore to protect them, and I will keep that promise. But now I see that I cannot do it alone, not with so much at stake."
I need you, Leora.
Her heart skipped a beat. She had feared danger, the unknown, and even the weight of Kale's centuries of power. Yet now, in the quiet aftermath, she realized that she had never felt stronger, safer, or more alive. "And I need you," she said simply. "We face the future together." The twins cooed softly, reaching out toward Kale's golden hand. He smiled, letting them touch his face gently, marveling at the connection they shared. For the first time in centuries, he allowed himself to believe that redemption was possible, that love could conquer even the shadows that had haunted him for so long. Suddenly, a faint shimmer in the crystal at the center of the chamber caught his attention. The carvings on the walls glowed softly, responding to the children's presence.
Kale approached, running his fingers along the ancient symbols.
These walls, they speak of protection, of power, of sacrifice.
Perhaps they will guide us toward the future we seek. Leora watched him silently, a sense of awe and gratitude filling her heart.
He had carried centuries of darkness, yet here he was, willing to face it all for the sake of love, family, and hope. Hours passed, and the chamber settled into an uneasy peace. Kale remained vigilant, though the tension in his shoulders had softened. Leora held the twins, singing softly to them, her voice carrying through the cavern like a promise. "You have done more than protect them tonight," she said quietly. "You have protected hope, and perhaps in doing so you have protected yourself too." Kale's gaze lingered on her, a mixture of warmth and reverence. "Hope, it is fragile, but it endures. And with you, perhaps it can endure even the darkest nights."
Outside the sanctuary, the city slept unaware of the battles waged beneath its streets. Shadows still lingered in corners, waiting, watching.
But within the cavern there was light, warmth, and the fragile beginnings of a new legacy.
Kale knelt beside Leora, placing a gentle hand over hers.
But the curse may return. The shadows may rise again. But I have learned something tonight, that courage, love, and trust are stronger than any darkness.
And with them, we can face whatever comes.
Leora smiled, her fingers intertwining with his.
Then we will face it together. Always. The twins stirred, reaching toward them both, their small hands holding on to the promise of safety and love. Kale and Leora exchanged a glance, a silent vow passing between them. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would not face them alone. For the first time in centuries, Kale allowed himself a fleeting moment of peace. The weight of the curse had not vanished, but the bonds of trust, love, and hope had grown stronger. He understood now that true strength did not lie in power alone, but in connection, in family, in trust, and in the courage to stand together against the darkness. The chamber glowed softly, the carvings on the walls casting a golden light. Leora hummed a gentle tune, the twins' breathing slowing into calm sleep. Kale watched them, feeling the warmth of hope ignite within him. Fragile yet unstoppable. And in that moment, beneath the city and the endless night, Kale understood the true meaning of redemption. It was not only survival, not only victory, but the willingness to embrace love, to trust, and to protect what was most precious, no matter the cost. The shadows beyond the sanctuary still lingered, and the world would never be free of danger. But in the light of the chamber, in the warmth of their fragile family, Kale, Leora, and the twins found a beginning, a chance to rewrite fate, to rise from darkness, and to live in the promise of hope. Together they faced the dawn. And though the night had been long, the journey was only beginning.